New York City's skyline shimmered in the early evening light as I glanced out the window of my penthouse apartment. The Empire State Building stood tall, a beacon of stability in a city that never stopped moving. But tonight, even its grandeur couldn't distract me from the unease gnawing at my gut. I was sitting at my drafting table, surrounded by blueprints and sketches for a new museum project, when my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Curiosity piqued. I opened it. "Thought you should know. Tom's been seeing someone else." My heart pounded as I reread the message. There was a photo attached. With trembling hands, I tapped it open. There he was, my husband, Tom, arms wrapped around a woman I didn't recognize, their faces close, lips almost touching. A cold wave of shock washed over me. I couldn't breathe. For a moment, the noise of the city below seemed to fade into silence, and all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart. I needed to hear it from him. I needed to confront him. I stood up, my legs shaky, and grabbed my coat. Tom was supposed to be at home tonight. Our home. When I entered our apartment, Tom was lounging on the sofa, watching a basketball game. He looked up and smiled, but it quickly faded when he saw my face. "Emma, what's wrong?" His voice was laced with concern, but I saw the flicker of guilt in his eyes. I tossed my phone onto the coffee table in front of him. "Explain this." He picked up the phone, his expression changing from confusion to horror as he saw the photo. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "How long?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "Emma, it's not what you think," he started, but I cut him off. "Don't lie to me, Tom. Just tell me the truth. How long?" He looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "6 months," he whispered. 6 months, half a year of deceit. I felt my knees buckle, and I sank into the armchair behind me. Tears welled up, but I fought them back, refusing to break down in front of him. "Why, Tom? Why would you do this to us?" My voice cracked. "I don't know, Emma. I was stupid. It didn't mean anything." "I love you," he said, reaching out to touch my hand. I pulled away. "Love? You call this love?" I pointed at the phone, disgust evident in my voice. "How could you?" He looked at me, his eyes pleading. It was a mistake. I was feeling lost. "You've been so busy with work, and I felt neglected. So it's my fault now." I snapped, standing up. "I was working to build a future for us, Tom. Everything I did was for us." He stood too, tears in his eyes. "I know, and I'm sorry. Please, Emma, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll do anything." I shook my head, stepping back. "I can't even look at you right now. I need to think." He reached out again, but I moved further away. "Emma, please." "No, Tom. I need space." My voice was firm, resolute. "We were supposed to go to Bali next week. I'm going alone." His face fell, and he nodded, defeated. "Okay, if that's what you need." Without another word, I turned and left the apartment, the place that had once felt like a safe haven now suffocating. I walked aimlessly through the streets, the bustling city a blur around me. I couldn't shake the image of Tom with that woman, the betrayal cutting deeper than any wound I'd ever known. As I walked, I made up my mind. I needed to get away, to clear my head and figure out my next steps. Bali was supposed to be a romantic getaway, but now it would be a refuge, a place to gather the shattered pieces of my heart. I booked my flight that night, determined to leave the pain behind, if only for a little while. The city lights outside my window flickered as I packed my bags, each item a reminder of the life I thought I had. By morning, I was ready to leave, not just the city, but the broken dreams it now represented. Standing at the gate, I took a deep breath and looked at the sunrise painting the sky in hues of pink and orange. A new day, a new beginning. Bali awaited, and with it, the promise of healing and rediscovery. "Goodbye, New York," I whispered as I boarded the plane. leaving behind a life that had unraveled in a single night. The flight to Bali was long, giving me ample time to reflect on the whirlwind of emotions that had overtaken my life. As the plane soared over the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean, I stared out the window, lost in thought. The past few days felt like a blur. Anger, sadness, and a profound sense of betrayal all mixed together, creating a storm within me. Landing in Bali, the humid, tropical air was a stark contrast to the cool New York breeze I had left behind. I collected my luggage and stepped outside, where the vibrant energy of the island greeted me. The chatter of tourists, the aroma of street food, and the sight of colorful offerings placed meticulously by the Balinese people were a welcome distraction from my inner turmoil. I had booked a villa in Ubud, nestled among lush rice paddies and serene landscapes. The drive there was mesmerizing. Palm trees swayed gently in the breeze, and the verdant countryside was dotted with temples and small villages. Despite the beauty surrounding me, a part of my heart remained heavy with the weight of Tom's betrayal. As the days passed, I tried to lose myself in the culture and beauty of Bali. I visited ancient temples, participated in yoga classes, and spent hours wandering through the vibrant local markets. The island's natural beauty was breathtaking. The emerald green terraces of Tegalalang, the tranquil beaches of Seminyak, and the majestic waterfalls hidden in the jungles. One afternoon, while exploring the Ubud Art Market, I stumbled upon a quaint little cafe. The smell of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, inviting me in. I decided to take a break and find solace in a cup of Balinese coffee. I found a quiet corner and was soon engrossed in my thoughts when a voice interrupted. "Mind if I join you?" A man with a warm smile and a backpack slung over his shoulder stood before me. I looked up, momentarily startled. "Sure, go ahead," I replied, gesturing to the empty chair across from me. He sat down, placing his backpack beside him. "I'm Pete," he said, extending his hand. "Emma," I replied, shaking his hand. "Traveling alone?" he asked, curiosity evident in his eyes. "Yeah," I said, hesitating. "Needed a break from everything." He nodded understandingly. "I get that. Sometimes you need to step away to see things clearly." We fell into an easy conversation, sharing stories of our travels. Pete was from California, a freelance photographer who had been exploring Southeast Asia for the past few months. There was something comforting about talking to a stranger who knew nothing about my past, yet seemed to understand the need for escape. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the market, Pete suggested we visit a nearby temple known for its sunset views. I agreed, feeling a sense of lightness I hadn't felt in weeks. The temple was perched on a cliff, overlooking the vast ocean. We arrived just in time to see the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The beauty of the moment took my breath away, and for the first time since discovering Tom's infidelity, I felt a sense of peace. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Pete's voice broke the silence. "Yes, it is," I agreed, my voice barely a whisper. We stood there in silence, watching as the sky darkened and stars began to twinkle. There was something profound about sharing such a moment with someone who was, in many ways, a complete stranger. "Thank you, Pete," I said softly, turning to look at him. "For today, I needed this." He smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached his eyes. "Anytime, Emma. Sometimes all we need is a friend to remind us that the world is still a beautiful place." We parted ways that night, but agreed to meet again the next day to explore more of Ubud. As I walked back to my villa, I felt a small flicker of hope ignited within me. Maybe, just maybe, this trip would be the start of something new. A journey not just of healing, but of rediscovering myself. The next morning, Pete and I met up as planned. We visited the sacred monkey forest sanctuary, laughing as the mischievous monkeys darted around us, and then hiked to a secluded waterfall, where the sound of rushing water and the lush greenery created a haven of tranquility. How do you like Bali so far? Pete asked as we sat by the waterfall, dipping our feet into the cool water. I love it, I replied honestly. It's so different from New York, peaceful in a way that I desperately needed. Sometimes, a change of scenery is all it takes, he said, gazing at the cascading water. Bali has a way of healing wounds we didn't even know we had. As the days turned into a week, Pete and I explored more of the island together. We visited art galleries, hiked through rice terraces, and even took a cooking class, learning to make traditional Balinese dishes. Our friendship grew, and I found myself opening up to him in ways I hadn't expected. One evening, as we watched the sunset from a beachside cafe, Pete turned to me with a thoughtful expression. Emma, what are you going to do when you go back to New York? I sighed, the reality of my situation looming over me. I don't know. Face whatever comes, I guess. But for now, I'm trying not to think about it. He nodded. Fair enough. Just remember, you're stronger than you think. And whatever happens, you'll get through it. His words stayed with me long after we parted ways that night. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of clarity. Bali was helping me heal, one beautiful moment at a time, and with Pete's unexpected friendship, I was beginning to believe in the possibility of a brighter future. The days in Bali had a way of blending together, each one filled with new experiences and a growing sense of peace. Pete and I continued our explorations, discovering hidden gems and sharing stories. The more time I spent with him, the more I realized how much we had in common, especially when it came to matters of the heart. One evening, we decided to visit a quiet beach known for its bioluminescent plankton. The thought of tiny glowing creatures lighting up the water intrigued me, and I was eager to see the spectacle. As we walked along the shore, the sun had just set, leaving a dark, starlit sky above us. The rhythmic sound of the waves crashing against the shore provided a soothing backdrop to our conversation. Emma, do you believe in fate? Pete asked, breaking the comfortable silence between us. I thought for a moment, considering his question. I don't know. I've always believed we have control over our own lives. But lately, I'm not so sure. Sometimes it feels like things happen for a reason. He nodded thoughtfully. I used to believe in fate too, but after what happened with Sarah, I'm still trying to figure it out. Sarah, I prompted gently, sensing there was a story there. He sighed, looking out at the dark horizon. Sarah was my fiancée. We were together for 5 years, planning to get married this summer. But a few months ago, I found out she had been seeing someone else. I felt a pang of empathy. I'm so sorry, Pete. That's awful. He shrugged, a sad smile playing on his lips. Yeah, it was. I was devastated. I couldn't stay in California after that. Everywhere I went, I was reminded of her, of us. So I packed my bags and started traveling, hoping to find some clarity. And have you? I asked, genuinely curious. He looked at me, his eyes reflecting a mix of sadness and hope. In some ways, yes. Meeting new people, seeing new places, it's helped. And meeting you has helped too, Emma. It's nice to be around someone who understands. We walked in silence for a few moments, the weight of his words settling between us. I appreciated his honesty, feeling a deeper connection forming. It's strange, I said finally. Before coming here, I felt so lost, so alone. But now, being here, with you, I don't feel so alone anymore. He smiled, a genuine smile that warmed my heart. Me neither. As we continued our walk, the water around our feet began to shimmer with a faint blue light. The bioluminescent plankton had arrived, creating a magical, otherworldly glow. We stood there, mesmerized by the beauty of it all. Look at that, Pete whispered. It's like the ocean is full of stars. I nodded, feeling a sense of awe. It's incredible. It makes me feel hopeful. Hopeful? He asked, turning to face me. Yeah, I said, meeting his gaze. Like maybe, despite everything, there's still beauty in the world. And maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance for happiness. Pete reached out and took my hand, his touch gentle and reassuring. There is, Emma. I believe that too. We stood there, hand in hand, watching the waves light up with each movement. In that moment, surrounded by the serene beauty of Bali and the comfort of Pete's presence, I felt a spark of hope ignite within me. Over the next few days, Pete and I grew even closer. Our conversations ranged from light-hearted banter to deep, introspective discussions. One afternoon, while lounging in a hammock outside my villa, I asked him about his photography. "So, tell me about your work. What kind of photography do you do?" I asked, genuinely interested. He smiled, leaning back in the hammock. "I started with landscapes, but over the years, I've focused more on portraits. I love capturing the essence of a person, their story, in a single frame." "That sounds amazing," I said, admiring his passion. "Do you have any photos with you?" He nodded, pulling out his phone. "Yeah, I do. Let me show you." He scrolled through his gallery, showing me pictures of people from all over the world. Each photo was captivating, revealing a glimpse into the lives of the subjects. "These are incredible, Pete," I said, genuinely impressed. "You have a real talent." "Thanks, Emma," he said, smiling. "It means a lot coming from you." As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the villa, we sat in companionable silence, watching the sky change colors. I realized how much I had come to value Pete's friendship, his presence a soothing balm to my wounded heart. "Emma," Pete said suddenly, breaking the silence, "when you go back to New York, what will you do?" I sighed, contemplating his question. "I'm not sure. I know I can't go back to the way things were. I need to figure out what's next for me, both personally and professionally." He nodded, understanding. "Whatever you decide, just know that you deserve happiness. Don't settle for anything less." "Thank you, Pete," I said, touched by his words. "You've helped me see that." As the days in Bali came to a close, I felt a sense of renewal. The pain of Tom's betrayal still lingered, but it no longer consumed me. With Pete's friendship and the beauty of Bali, I had found a glimmer of hope and the strength to move forward. On our last night together, we went back to the beach where we had seen the bioluminescent plankton. The night was clear, the stars twinkling above us. "Pete," I said, turning to him, "thank you for everything. You've made this trip unforgettable." He smiled, his eyes reflecting the starry sky. "No, thank you, Emma. You've reminded me that even in the darkest times, there's always light, and that light can come from the most unexpected places." As we stood there, under the vast expanse of the universe, I felt a sense of peace. The journey wasn't over, but I was no longer afraid. With Pete by my side, I knew I had the strength to face whatever came next. The morning sun filtered through the bamboo blinds of my villa, casting a warm glow over the room. I stretched lazily, feeling the tranquility of Bali seep into my bones. For the first time in weeks, I felt a semblance of peace. I reached for my phone, checking for messages, a routine I had neglected since my arrival on the island. There was a new message from Lisa, my best friend back in New York. A pang of anxiety struck me as I opened it, her words leaping off the screen and shattering my temporary calm. "Emma, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you need to know the full extent of Tom's betrayal. He wasn't just having an affair. He's been seeing multiple women. One of them reached out to me, saying she had no idea he was married. I'm so sorry, Em. Call me when you can." I stared at the message, my heart pounding in my chest. Multiple women. I felt the ground shift beneath me as the magnitude of Tom's deception hit me. The betrayal was deeper than I had imagined, and it felt like I was drowning in a sea of hurt and anger all over again. The villa suddenly felt stifling. I needed air, space to process this new wave of pain. I grabbed my bag and hurried outside, my feet carrying me to the beach where Pete and I had spent so many peaceful moments. The ocean, which had once been a source of solace, now mirrored the tumultuous storm within me. I sat down on the sand, my knees drawn to my chest, and let the tears flow. How could Tom have done this to me? To us? Our life together had been a lie, and I felt like a fool for not seeing it sooner. Emma. Pete's voice was soft, filled with concern. I hadn't heard him approach, but now he was here, kneeling beside me. "What's wrong?" he asked gently, placing a hand on my shoulder. I handed him my phone. Unable to speak, he read Lisa's message, his expression darkening with each passing second. "Oh, Emma," he said, sitting down beside me. "I'm so sorry." The dam broke, and I began to sob uncontrollably. Pete wrapped his arms around me, holding me as I cried. His presence was comforting, a steady anchor in the storm of my emotions. I thought I was starting to heal. I choked out between sobs. "But this is too much." He held me tighter. "It's okay to feel this way, Emma. Betrayal is never easy to process, and learning about the extent of it, it's devastating. But you're not alone. I'm here for you." We sat there for what felt like hours, the sound of the waves crashing against the shore providing the soothing backdrop to my grief. Gradually, my sobs subsided, replaced by a deep exhaustion. "Do you want to talk about it?" Pete asked, his voice gentle. I nodded, wiping away the remnants of my tears. I just don't understand how he could do this. We had a life together, plans, dreams, and now it feels like it was all a lie. "People can be incredibly selfish," Pete said softly. "They do things that hurt others without thinking about the consequences. But that doesn't mean you have to carry the weight of his actions. This is on him, not you." I looked at him, grateful for his unwavering support. "How do you do it, Pete? How do you stay so strong?" He smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I'm not always strong, Emma. I have my moments of weakness, just like everyone else. But I've learned that the key to moving forward is to surround yourself with people who care about you, and to be kind to yourself." His words resonated with me. For too long, I had blamed myself for not seeing the signs, for being blind to Tom's infidelity. But maybe it was time to stop being so hard on myself. "Thank you, Pete," I said, my voice steadier. "I don't know what I would do without you." He squeezed my hand. "You'd find a way, Emma. You're stronger than you realize." As the sun began to set, casting a warm, golden light over the beach, I felt a sense of clarity. Tom's betrayal had shattered my world, but it hadn't broken me. With Pete's support, I could find the strength to rebuild my life, piece by piece. Later that evening, we returned to the villa. Pete insisted on making dinner, a simple yet delicious meal of grilled fish and tropical fruit. We ate on the patio, the sound of the ocean in the background. "Do you want to call Lisa?" Pete asked gently after we had finished eating. I nodded. "Yeah, I think I need to. She's been there for me through everything." I owe her a call. I dialed Lisa's number, my heart pounding as I waited for her to pick up. She answered on the second ring, her voice filled with concern. "Emma, are you okay?" "I will be," I replied, taking a deep breath. "Thank you for telling me, Lisa. I needed to know the truth." "I'm so sorry, Em. I can't believe he did this to you. If there's anything I can do." "Just talking to you helps," I interrupted, my voice trembling. "Knowing that I have friends who care about me, it means a lot. We love you, Emma, and we'll be here for you, no matter what." I felt a surge of gratitude for Lisa and for Pete, who had become an unexpected pillar of support in my life. After hanging up, I turned to Pete, feeling a newfound determination. "I'm going to be okay," I said, more to myself than to him. "It's going to take time, but I know I can get through this." Pete smiled, his eyes filled with pride. "I know you can, Emma, and I'll be here with you every step of the way." As the stars began to twinkle above us, I felt a sense of hope. The road ahead was uncertain, but with friends like Lisa and Pete by my side, I knew I could face whatever challenges came my way. Tom's betrayal had marked the end of one chapter of my life, but it was also the beginning of a new one. A chapter filled with possibility, healing, and maybe even a chance at happiness. The decision to extend my stay in Bali was spontaneous but felt incredibly right. The island had become a sanctuary, a place where I could heal away from the chaotic noise of my life back in New York. With Pete's encouragement, I found the courage to stay and let the island work its magic. One morning, while sipping coffee at a local cafe, I saw a flyer for an art class pinned to the community board. "Reconnect with your creative self," it read. The words struck a chord. Art had always been a passion of mine, but the demands of my career as an architect had pushed it to the sidelines. Maybe this was the time to rekindle that old flame. I signed up for the class on a whim, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The class was held in a quaint studio near the beach, its walls adorned with vibrant paintings and sketches from previous students. As I entered, the rich scent of paint and canvas filled the air, bringing back memories of my younger days. The instructor, Kitut, greeted me with a warm smile. "Welcome, Emma. I'm glad you're here. We start with basic techniques and go from there. Remember, this is about expression, not perfection." I nodded, feeling a wave of relief. This was exactly what I needed, a space to express myself without the pressure of perfection. We began with simple exercises, focusing on shapes and colors. As I dipped my brush into the paint, I felt a surge of liberation. Each stroke on the canvas was like a release, a way to channel my emotions and make sense of my inner turmoil. During a break, I found myself chatting with Kitut. "You have a natural talent," he remarked, glancing at my canvas. "Have you painted before?" "A long time ago," I admitted. "I used to love it, but life got in the way." He nodded understandingly. Art has a way of finding us again when we need it most. It's a form of healing. His words resonated deeply. As the days passed, I immersed myself in the class, finding solace in the creative process. Each session brought new insights and a growing sense of peace. I painted landscapes, abstract pieces, and even tried my hand at portraiture. The act of creating something beautiful from raw materials was profoundly therapeutic. One afternoon, Pete joined me at the studio, curious about my new endeavor. He watched as I worked, a look of admiration on his face. "These are amazing, Emma," he said, gesturing to the collection of paintings around me. "You have a real gift." "Thanks, Pete," I replied, feeling a blush rise to my cheeks. It's been so long since I painted. I almost forgot how much I loved it. He picked up a canvas, examining the vibrant colors and intricate details. "This one is my favorite," he said, pointing to a landscape of Bali's rice terraces bathed in the golden light of sunset. "It captures the beauty and tranquility of this place perfectly." "I'm glad you like it," I said, smiling. "Painting has helped me process everything. It's been a form of therapy." "I can see that," he replied softly. "You seem more at peace, more yourself." His words were like a balm to my soul. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of hope and possibility. The betrayal and pain were still there, but they no longer defined me. I was rediscovering parts of myself that I had forgotten, and it felt incredibly liberating. One evening, after a particularly inspiring class, Kitut invited the students to a local art exhibition. It was a chance to see the works of seasoned artists and mingle with the local art community. Pete and I decided to go, eager to experience more of Bali's vibrant culture. The gallery was a small, intimate space filled with stunning artworks. As we wandered through the exhibit, I felt a deep connection to the pieces on display. Each one told a story, a glimpse into the artist's soul. Pete and I found ourselves in front of a breathtaking painting of a woman standing on a cliff, her arms outstretched as if embracing the wind. The expression on her face was one of pure freedom and joy. "This one speaks to me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. It's like she's letting go of everything that's holding her back. Pete nodded, his gaze fixed on the painting. It's beautiful. Just like you, Emma. You're finding your own freedom here. His words touched my heart. I realized that this trip, this journey of self-discovery, was about more than just healing from Tom's betrayal. It was about reclaiming my life, my passions, and my sense of self. As the evening drew to a close, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Bali had given me the space to breathe, to reflect, and to rediscover the things that truly mattered. Painting had become more than just a hobby. It was a path to healing and self-expression. Back at the villa, I sat on the terrace, gazing at the starlit sky. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I felt ready to face it. With Pete's friendship and the support of the art community, I knew I could rebuild my life, one brushstroke at a time. "Thank you, Bali," I whispered into the night. "And thank you, Pete, for everything." The island had given me a gift far greater than I could have imagined. A new beginning, filled with hope, creativity, and the promise of brighter days ahead. The days in Bali flowed like a serene river, each one bringing me closer to a sense of wholeness I hadn't felt in years. Pete and I spent countless hours exploring the island, sharing meals, and discussing everything from art to the meaning of life. His presence had become a comforting constant in my journey of healing. One sunny afternoon, Pete and I decided to visit the Ubud monkey forest. As we strolled through the lush greenery, the playful antics of the monkeys brought laughter and lightness to the air. "Look at that one," Pete said, pointing to a monkey swinging from a low-hanging branch. "He's got more energy than I've had in years." I chuckled, watching the monkey's antics. "I think he's showing off for you, Pete. Maybe he's trying to impress us." "Well, he's certainly succeeding," Pete replied with a grin. "Though I'm not sure how I feel about being outdone by a monkey." We both laughed, the sound echoing through the forest. It was moments like these that made me grateful for Pete's friendship. He had a way of making the world feel lighter, of reminding me that joy could still be found even in the midst of heartache. As we sat on a bench, watching the monkeys, Pete turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Emma, I've been meaning to ask you something." "Sure, what's on your mind?" I asked, curious. "How would you feel about extending your stay even longer? There's so much more to see and do here, and I'd hate for you to leave before you're ready." I smiled, touched by his concern. "I've been thinking about that too. Bali has become like a second home to me. I'm not sure I'm ready to leave yet." "Good," Pete said, a hint of relief in his voice, "because I'm not ready for you to leave either." There was a moment of silence as our eyes met, and I felt a flutter of something deeper, something unspoken. Was it possible that this friendship could become something more? Before I could dwell on the thought, Pete's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted from lighthearted to serious. "Is everything okay?" I asked, concern creeping into my voice. Pete sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's my sister. She's in the hospital. I need to go back to the States." My heart sank. The thought of losing Pete's presence so suddenly was like a punch to the gut. "I'm so sorry, Pete. Is she going to be okay?" "I don't know," he said, his voice tight with worry. "I have to be there for her. I'm sorry, Emma. I hate to leave you like this." "Don't apologize," I said, placing a hand on his arm. "Your family needs you. Go. I'll be fine." Pete nodded, but I could see the turmoil in his eyes. "I'll be back as soon as I can. Please, take care of yourself." We embraced, and I felt the weight of his worry and my own sadness mingling in that hug. As he pulled away, I forced a smile, not wanting him to see how much his departure was affecting me. "Safe travels, Pete," I said softly, "and let me know how she's doing." "I will," he promised. "And Emma, don't forget, Bali has a way of healing. Let it work its magic." With that, he was gone, leaving a void in his wake that felt almost tangible. The rest of the day passed in a blur. The vibrant colors of Bali seemed muted, The once soothing sounds of the island now felt hollow. That evening, as I sat on the terrace of my villa, the sky painted in hues of orange and pink, I felt a deep sense of abandonment. Pete's departure had stirred up old wounds, feelings of being left behind that I had tried so hard to bury. I pulled out my phone, contemplating calling him, but stopped myself. He needed to focus on his family, and I didn't want to add to his burden. Instead, I turned to my painting supplies, hoping to channel my emotions into art. As I painted, the canvas seemed to absorb my sorrow, each brushstroke a release of the confusion and loneliness that churned inside me. The next morning, I woke to a message from Pete. "Emma, I made it to the hospital. My sister's stable for now. Thank you for understanding. I'll be back as soon as I can. Take care." Reading his words brought a small measure of comfort. Knowing that his sister was stable and that he hadn't forgotten about me gave me a glimmer of hope. Over the next few days, I threw myself into my art class and exploring the island. I visited temples, trekked through rice paddies, and even tried surfing. Each new experience was a step towards reclaiming my independence, a reminder that I was stronger than I realized. Yet, despite my efforts, I couldn't shake the sense of emptiness that Pete's absence had left. Our friendship had become a cornerstone of my healing, and without him, I felt adrift. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, I found myself at a beachside bar, nursing a drink and watching the waves crash against the shore. The rhythmic sound was soothing, a reminder of the constant ebb and flow of life. A voice broke through my thoughts. "Mind if I join you?" I looked up to see Ketut, my art instructor, standing there with a friendly smile. "Of course, Ketut. Please, have a seat." He sat down, ordering a drink and glancing at me with concern. "You seem troubled, Emma. Is everything all right?" I sighed, swirling the ice in my glass. "It's Pete. He had to leave suddenly because of a family emergency. I miss him." Ketut nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Pete is a good friend to you. It's natural to miss him. But remember, you came here to find yourself, to heal. Don't lose sight of that." His words struck a chord. I had come to Bali to escape the pain of Tom's betrayal and to rediscover who I was outside of that pain. Pete had been a crucial part of that journey, but ultimately, it was my journey. "Thank you, Ketut," I said, feeling a renewed sense of determination. "You're right. I need to focus on my own path." Ketut smiled, raising his glass in a toast. "To new beginnings, Emma. May you find the strength and peace you seek." As I clinked my glass against his, I felt a spark of hope. Pete's departure had been a twist of fate, a reminder that life was unpredictable and often challenging. But it was also a reminder that I had the strength to navigate those challenges, to find my own way forward. With or without Pete, Bali had become a place of healing and transformation for me. And as I watched the sun set over the ocean, I knew that my journey was far from over. Alone again in the tranquil embrace of Bali, I found myself immersed in a sea of introspection. With Pete gone, the island felt both vast and intimate, its beauty a constant reminder of the journey I had embarked upon. I spent my days wandering through rice fields and hidden temples, seeking solace in the whispers of the wind and the gentle caress of the sun. Each moment was a chance to reflect, to unravel the tangled threads of my emotions and weave them into something resembling clarity. One morning, as I sat on the terrace of my villa, a soft breeze playing with my hair, I felt the urge to write. Pulling out my journal, I began to pour my thoughts onto the page, each word a release, a confession, a prayer. To Tom. I used to think that love was enough to sustain us, to weather any storm that came our way. But now I see that love alone is not always sufficient. It requires trust, honesty, and a willingness to put each other's needs above our own. Your betrayal shattered the foundation of our marriage, leaving behind a wreckage of broken dreams and fractured promises. And yet, amidst the rubble, I find a glimmer of gratitude for the lessons learned, the strength gained, and the possibility of a new beginning. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to carry the weight of bitterness any longer. May you find the courage to confront your own demons and seek the redemption you so desperately crave. Emma. Tears blurred my vision as I closed the journal, the weight of my words settling heavy in my heart. Letting go of Tom was a process, a slow unraveling of the ties that bound us together. But with each letter written, each confession whispered to the wind, I felt a little lighter, a little freer. Turning my attention to Pete, I felt a pang of longing mixed with gratitude for the brief but profound connection we had shared. Pulling out a fresh sheet of paper, I began to write once more. To Pete, your unexpected departure left a void in my heart that I'm still struggling to fill. Your friendship was a beacon of light in the darkness, a reminder that kindness and compassion still exist in this world. I miss our conversations, your laughter, the way you saw me, not as a broken woman in need of saving, but as a fellow traveler on the journey of life. You gave me the courage to believe in myself again, to embrace the possibility of a future filled with hope and joy. Though our paths may diverge, know that you will always hold a special place in my heart. Wherever you go, whatever challenges you face, remember that you are not alone. I am here, cheering you on from afar, grateful for the gift of your friendship. Emma. As I sealed the letter with a kiss, a sense of closure washed over me. Pete may have left Bali, but his presence lingered in the memories we had shared, the laughter echoing in the corners of my mind. Finally, I turned to myself, the most challenging letter of all. With trembling hands, I began to write, pouring out all the doubts, fears, and insecurities that had plagued me for so long. To myself, it's time to let go of the past, to release the burdens that weigh heavy on your heart, and embrace the possibility of a future filled with promise and potential. You are stronger than you realize, more resilient than you give yourself credit for. You have faced adversity head-on, weathered the storms of life with grace and dignity. And though the road ahead may be uncertain, know that you are not alone. You are worthy of love, of happiness, of all the blessings this world has to offer. So stand tall, dear heart, and let your light shine bright. The world is waiting for you to step into your power, to embrace the beautiful, flawed, magnificent creature that you are. With love and compassion. Emma. As I read the words back to myself, a sense of peace washed over me. The journey of self-discovery was far from over, but with each step forward, I felt a little braver, a little more alive. Bali had given me the space to reflect, to heal, to rediscover the woman I had buried beneath the weight of expectation and obligation. And as I watched the sun sink below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I knew that the best was yet to come. The decision to return to New York weighed heavy on my heart, a blend of anticipation and trepidation swirling within me as I boarded the plane bound for home. Bali had been a sanctuary, a cocoon of healing and self-discovery, but now it was time to face the reality waiting for me on the other side of the world. As the plane soared through the clouds, I found myself lost in thought, reflecting on the woman I had become during my time in Bali. I was stronger now, more resilient, ready to confront whatever challenges awaited me with a newfound sense of resolve. Stepping off the plane onto familiar ground felt both comforting and disorienting, like returning to a place I had once called home, but no longer recognized. The streets of New York buzzed with life, the cacophony of noise and movement a sharp contrast to the serenity of Bali. I hailed a cab and directed the driver to take me to our apartment, a place that held both painful memories and the promise of a fresh start. As we wound through the city streets, I couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia tinged with sadness. Arriving at our apartment building, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. Climbing the stairs to our floor, each step felt like a journey back in time, a reminder of the life I had left behind. Unlocking the door to our apartment, I was greeted by the familiar scent of home. Tom's cologne mingled with the faint aroma of coffee. It was a bittersweet reminder of the life we had built together, now shattered beyond repair. Taking a moment to gather my thoughts, I steeled myself for the confrontation that lay ahead. Tom needed to know that I was no longer the woman he had betrayed, that I had found the strength to stand on my own 2 feet and demand the respect and honesty I deserved. As I entered the living room, Tom turned from his spot on the couch, his expression one of surprise and confusion. "Emma," he said, rising to his feet, "you're back. I wasn't expecting you." "I know," I replied, my voice steady despite the tumult of emotions swirling inside me. "There's something we need to talk about, Tom." He nodded, his eyes searching mine for answers. "Is everything okay? Did something happen in Bali?" "In a way, yes," I said, taking the seat opposite him. "I went to Bali to heal, to find myself again. And I realized something. I deserve better than what you've given me." Tom's brow furrowed, his expression shifting from confusion to realization. "You know about her, don't you?" I nodded, feeling a sense of calm wash over me. "I know everything, Tom. And I'm done pretending like it's okay. I'm done pretending like we can just sweep it under the rug and move on like nothing happened." For a moment, there was silence between us, the weight of my words hanging heavy in the air. Then, Tom spoke, his voice tinged with regret. "I'm sorry, Emma. I never meant to hurt you. I was just, I don't know, lost, I guess." I shook my head, feeling a surge of anger and disappointment. "That's not an excuse, Tom. We were supposed to be partners, to support each other through thick and thin. But you threw it all away for, what? A fleeting moment of pleasure." He lowered his gaze, unable to meet my eyes. "I don't expect you to forgive me, Emma. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But please, let me try to make things right. Let me show you that I can change, that I can be the man you deserve." I sighed, feeling the weight of his words pressing down on me. "I don't know, Tom. I need time to think, to figure out what's best for both of us." He nodded, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "I understand. Take all the time you need, Emma. I'll be here, waiting." With that, I rose from my seat, the air heavy with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. Turning away from Tom, I made my way to our bedroom, the weight of my decision settling heavy on my shoulders. As I closed the door behind me, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I had faced my reality head-on, confronted the pain and betrayal that had threatened to consume me. And though the road ahead was uncertain, I knew that I was strong enough to face it, to forge a new path for myself, one filled with hope, healing, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The meeting with Tom loomed over me like a dark cloud, casting a shadow of uncertainty over my already tumultuous emotions. I knew that this conversation would be the defining moment of our relationship, the point of no return. As I entered the cafe where we had agreed to meet, my heart pounded in my chest, each beat a drumming reminder of the gravity of the situation. Tom was already seated at a corner table, his expression a mix of apprehension and resignation. "Emma," he said softly as I approached, gesturing for me to take a seat opposite him. "Tom," I replied, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. For a moment, we sat in silence, the weight of our unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. Then, with a deep breath, I plunged into the heart of the matter. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since I got back from Bali," I began, my words measured and deliberate. "And I've come to a decision. I want a divorce, Tom." His eyes widened in shock, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Emma, please, don't do this. We can work through this. We can." "No, Tom," I interrupted, my voice firm and resolute. "This isn't something we can just sweep under the rug and pretend never happened. You broke my trust. You shattered our marriage, and I can't just forgive and forget." Tears welled in his eyes, his voice thick with emotion. "I know I messed up, Emma. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But please, don't give up on us. Don't give up on what we had." "I'm not giving up, Tom," I said, my voice softening with empathy. "I'm letting go. There's a difference. We can't keep holding on to something that's already broken beyond repair. It's time to move on." With that, I rose from my seat, the weight of my decision heavy on my shoulders. As I walked away from Tom, I felt a sense of liberation wash over me, a newfound freedom born from the courage to confront my reality head-on. Leaving the cafe behind, I made my way to a nearby park, seeking solace in the quiet beauty of nature. It was there that I received a text from Sarah, my best friend and confidant, asking to meet up. As I waited for her to arrive, I found myself lost in thought, reflecting on the journey that had brought me to this moment. Sarah had been with me through it all, a steady anchor in the stormy seas of my life. When she arrived, her presence was like a ray of sunshine breaking through the clouds. "Emma," she said, enveloping me in a warm embrace. "It's so good to see you." "Sarah," I replied, returning her embrace with equal fervor. "Thank you for being here." We sat on a bench overlooking the pond, the sounds of nature providing the soothing backdrop to our conversation. I told Sarah everything about Tom's affair, my decision to divorce, and the whirlwind journey of self-discovery I had embarked upon in Bali. Sarah listened with rapt attention, her eyes brimming with empathy and understanding. "Emma," she said softly when I had finished, "you are stronger than you realize. You've faced adversity with grace and courage, and I have no doubt that you will emerge from this stronger and more resilient than ever." Tears pricked my eyes at her words, a mixture of gratitude and relief washing over me. "Thank you, Sarah," I said, my voice choked with emotion. "I don't know what I would do without you." "You don't have to do anything alone, Emma," she replied, squeezing my hand in reassurance. "I'll be here for you every step of the way, no matter what." As we sat together in companionable silence, the weight of my decision lifted, replaced by a sense of peace and clarity. Though the road ahead would be challenging, I knew that with Sarah by my side, I could face whatever lay ahead with courage and grace. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and pink, I felt a glimmer of hope, the promise of a new beginning on the horizon. The divorce proceedings were a whirlwind of paperwork, meetings with lawyers, and court appearances, a relentless storm that threatened to engulf me in its wake. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, I found myself navigating a maze of legal complexities and emotional upheaval, each step forward fraught with uncertainty and doubt. The courtroom became a battleground, where Tom and I fought tooth and nail for what we believed was rightfully ours. Every word spoken, every document signed, felt like another blow to the heart, a painful reminder of the life we had built together, now torn asunder by betrayal and deceit. But amidst the chaos of legal battles and bitter disputes, I found solace in the unwavering support of my friends and loved ones. Sarah stood by my side through it all, her steadfast presence a beacon of light in the darkness. "You've got this, Emma," she would say, her voice infused with determination. "Don't let him get to you. You're stronger than you realize." And yet, despite her words of encouragement, the stress of the divorce proceedings took its toll on me, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Sleepless nights gave way to restless days, as anxiety gnawed at the edges of my sanity, threatening to pull me under with its suffocating embrace. I turned to my newfound hobbies for solace, seeking refuge in the soothing rhythm of brushstrokes on canvas and the meditative hum of pottery spinning on the wheel. But even the sanctuary of creativity could not shield me from the relentless onslaught of doubt and fear that plagued my every waking moment. One afternoon, as I sat in my makeshift studio, surrounded by half-finished paintings and discarded clay, Sarah appeared at my door, concern etched in the lines of her face. "Emma," she said softly, taking the seat beside me, "you don't have to do this alone. We're here for you, remember." I nodded, tears welling in my eyes as the weight of her words washed over me. "I know, Sarah," I whispered, my voice choked with emotion. "But sometimes it feels like I'm drowning in this sea of uncertainty, like no matter how hard I try, I can't escape the darkness." Sarah reached out, squeezing my hand in reassurance. "You're not alone, Emma," she said firmly. "We're in this together, remember. And no matter what happens, We'll find a way to weather the storm, together. As I looked into her eyes, filled with unwavering determination and unyielding hope, I felt a spark of courage ignite within me, a flicker of light in the depths of despair. And though the road ahead would be long and arduous, I knew that with Sarah by my side, I could face whatever challenges lay ahead with strength, resilience, and grace. With the dust of the divorce settlement finally settling, I stood at a crossroads, faced with the daunting task of rebuilding my life from the ground up. But amidst the wreckage of my shattered dreams, I found the seeds of hope, the promise of a new beginning, waiting to be nurtured and cultivated. I threw myself into my work with renewed vigor, channeling my energy into projects that challenged and inspired me. As I immersed myself in the world of architecture, I found solace in the creative process, the tangible results of my efforts serving as a reminder of my resilience and strength. But healing was not a solitary journey. It was a collaborative effort, fueled by the unwavering support of my friends and loved ones. Sarah remained my steadfast companion, guiding me through the ups and downs of post-divorce life with wisdom and grace. "You're doing great, Emma," she would say, her voice filled with pride. "Keep pushing forward. The best is yet to come." Encouraged by her words, I took a leap of faith and sought out therapy, a safe space where I could unpack the baggage of my past and confront the demons that haunted me. With each session, I peeled back the layers of my trauma, digging deep into the recesses of my soul in search of healing and redemption. But therapy was just one piece of the puzzle. I also sought connection and community, craving the warmth and camaraderie of kindred spirits. I joined a community group for survivors of divorce, where I found solace in the shared experiences of others and forged bonds that would last a lifetime. And then there was dating, a journey fraught with uncertainty and possibility, a delicate dance of vulnerability and courage. With Sarah's gentle encouragement, I dipped my toe back into the waters of romance, testing the depths of my heart with cautious optimism. One evening, as I sat across from a charming stranger at a cozy cafe, I felt a spark of recognition, a glimmer of connection that transcended the confines of time and space. "You're different," he said softly, his eyes searching mine for answers. "I can sense it. There's a light in you, a warmth that draws me in." I smiled, feeling the walls around my heart begin to crumble, the barriers of fear and doubt giving way to the possibility of something new, something beautiful. "Thank you," I replied, my voice tinged with gratitude. "I've been through a lot, but I'm learning to embrace the journey, to find joy in the unexpected twists and turns of life." As we talked late into the night, sharing stories and dreams, I felt a sense of peace settle over me, a quiet certainty that no matter what the future held, I was exactly where I was meant to be. And as I bid farewell to my newfound friend, I knew that this was just the beginning, the first step on a journey of self-discovery and transformation, guided by the light of hope and fueled by the fire of resilience. The streets of New York hummed with the energy of a city in constant motion as I made my way through the bustling crowds, my thoughts drifting back to the sun-drenched beaches of Bali and the unexpected connection I had forged with Pete. And then, like a twist of fate, he was there, standing at the corner of Fifth Avenue, his familiar figure a beacon of light in the urban jungle. "Emma," he called out, his voice cutting through the cacophony of noise around us. "Pete," I replied, my heart quickening at the sight of him. "What are you doing here?" He shrugged, a sheepish grin playing at the corners of his lips. "I missed New York, and I missed you." As we fell into step together, the years melted away, leaving behind a sense of familiarity and ease that felt like coming home. We exchanged stories of our time apart, his travels through Southeast Asia, my journey of self-discovery and healing, and with each word, I felt the bond between us grow stronger. "So what now?" Pete asked, his gaze searching mine for answers. I paused, feeling a surge of uncertainty wash over me. "I don't know," I admitted, my voice tinged with apprehension. "I'm still figuring things out, Pete, My life is a work in progress, a messy, beautiful work in progress. He nodded, his expression one of understanding. I get that, Emma. Believe me, I do. But maybe, just maybe, we could figure things out together. His words sparked something within me, a glimmer of hope, a whisper of possibility. I'd like that, I said softly, a smile tugging at the corners of my lips. I'd like that very much. And so we embarked on a journey of rediscovery, a journey fueled by laughter and tears, shared dreams, and whispered secrets. We took things slow, savoring each moment as it came, allowing our relationship to unfold organically, without the weight of expectations or the burden of the past. As we walked hand in hand through the streets of New York, the city lights casting a warm glow around us, I felt a sense of peace settle over me, a quiet certainty that no matter what the future held, I was exactly where I was meant to be. And as we turned the corner onto a new chapter of our lives, I knew that with Pete by my side, I could face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage, grace, and love. For in his embrace, I had found not just a lover, but a friend, a kindred spirit to share my joys and sorrows, my triumphs and failures, my hopes and dreams. And so, hand in hand, heart to heart, we stepped into the unknown, ready to embrace whatever the future held, together. The day of my divorce finalization dawned bright and clear, the sun casting a golden glow over the city skyline. As I made my way to the courthouse, it was a day of endings and beginnings, a day to bid farewell to the past and embrace the promise of the future. As I stood before the judge, my heart heavy with the weight of years gone by, I felt a surge of liberation wash over me, a sense of freedom born from the courage to let go of what no longer served me. With a steady hand and a steady voice, I signed the final papers, sealing the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. And then, as if by magic, Pete appeared at my side, his presence a beacon of light in the darkness. "Congratulations, Emma," he said softly, his eyes shining with pride. "You did it. You're free." I smiled, feeling a sense of relief flood through me. "Thank you, Pete," I replied, reaching out to squeeze his hand in gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you." Together, we celebrated the beginning of my new life, a life filled with endless possibilities and boundless potential. We toasted to the future with glasses of champagne, the bubbles dancing merrily in the sunlight as we laughed and danced and reveled in the joy of the moment. But amidst the celebrations, there was a sense of purpose, a determination to not just survive, but thrive. And so, we set out on a new adventure together, both personally and professionally, eager to explore the uncharted territory that lay ahead. In the days and weeks that followed, Pete and I leaned on each other for support, navigating the twists and turns of life with courage and grace. We embarked on new projects, chased our dreams, and dared to imagine a future filled with love, laughter, and endless possibility. And as the story drew to a close, I felt a sense of hope and empowerment wash over me, a quiet confidence born from the knowledge that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them head-on, with Pete by my side. For in his embrace, I had found not just a lover, but a partner, a kindred spirit to share my joys and sorrows, my triumphs and failures, my hopes and dreams. And together, hand in hand, heart to heart, we stepped boldly into the future, ready for whatever adventures awaited us, knowing that as long as we had each other, we could weather any storm.